Jerry Croft, and I'm a professor at Santa Clara University. And I wrote a book called Duped, Delusion, Denial, and the End of the American Dream. A delusion is a false idea about the world, and Americans in this book have six major false ideas about what makes the world go round. One example is that Saddam Hussein had nuclear weapons. That was a mistake. It was also a delusion. So I wanted to ask in the last chapter whether we are in denial about the future of our country. A poll in January of 2012 showed that only 17% of Americans were deeply pessimistic. So most people, and some people were neutral, but the majority of people are relatively optimistic that we're getting out of this George Bush recession, that unemployment is coming down, and so forth. So I wanted to ask, who's kidding themselves? Are the pessimists Cassandras who are who are Dr. Dooms when they have no right to be? Or are the optimists mistaken about the future course of our country? So I didn't go to Nostradamus to do this. I went and I didn't go to the Wall Street Journal to do this. Jared Diamond is a noted American anthropologist. He wrote a book called Guns, Germs, and Steel. He also wrote a book called Collapse on what makes societies fall apart. Arnold Toynbee similarly wrote 12 volumes on the rise and fall of civilizations. So between the two of them, they have 7 major factors connected to the collapse of a society. And here are a few of them. First of all, natural disasters, or over-exploiting natural resources. That takes care of the Mayans and the Sumerians. The empire is overextended. It grew too big. The currency got debased. Vandals or terrorists of their time are eating away at the edges of the empire, like the Visigoths and Attila the Hun. The Ottoman Empire, the Roman Empire certainly qualify for that. In many collapsing societies, there's social disintegration and the disintegration of family life. There is an emergence of what they call bizarre and perverse entertainment. Think Roman Colosseum, if you will. There is the development of a parasitic elite which kind of sucks the lifeblood out of a society. Think of the Russian czars or the French aristocracy. There is war on the outside and crime and anarchy on the inside, or either one or the other. And finally, the last factor is debt, or a debased currency. So those are the 7 items, and I wanted to see how the United States scores on this report card. How are we doing? So if you look at natural disasters, actually they're increasing. The total number of acres burned every year in the United States from forest fires is 6.5 times greater than it was 20 years ago. Tornadoes are getting apparently more intense. We had 507 casualties from tornadoes last year, which is more than we had in the last 10 years. Floods seem to be getting greater, all, of course, at the doorstep of global warming. Now, if you look at our first megatrend here, the total number of U.S. natural disasters has increased about 4-fold altogether in the last generation. That's cost, size, and number. So the bad news is that it's an accelerating, almost exponential trend, probably related to global warming. But the good news is that Hurricane Katrina cost $125 billion. Our economy is $15 trillion. So it's not likely that some single natural disaster is going to put an end to the United States of America. By the way, plague is also included in that idea. So let's go to our second megatrend. Factor 2, the empire is overextended. And here we see some things that most Americans are not really aware of. In 2011 to 2012, the United States was actually killing people in 9 different countries. No other country in the world can make that claim. We were killing people in Iraq, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Somalia with drones, Yemen with drones, Libya with NATO, the Central African Republic, we just landed special forces there, the Philippines, where we are supporting the government's fight against insurgents, and Honduras, where we had interdicted a drug raid and killed 15 or so civilians. The United States has almost 1,000 military bases outside of our country. We don't call it an empire in our media, but really some pundits have said it's the largest empire ever to have existed on planet Earth. What you're looking at, those little stars are American military bases just in the Middle East. So the United States military budget is roughly the equivalent of all of the rest of the countries of the world combined. It now consumes about close to 60% of our national budget. So the question here is it getting too big? If you look, we thought Obama was going to reduce our wars and get us out of the wars that George Bush put us into and reduce government spending on this issue, but he didn't. It increases every year. Our third factor for social collapse is disintegrating family or social structure. In the United States, about 24% of children are being raised in nuclear families with their biological mother